Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Primal, and I am back with a guide to Six Cybers. Now, you may be asking, hey, Primal, I'm pretty sure you did a guide to Six Cybers like 2 months ago. Why are you doing another guide? Well, the reason is because cybernetics has been updated and is, in my opinion, stronger than ever. And the biggest change is Vayne. So, without further ado, let's dive into the new and improved cybernetics and talk a little bit about what's different, how to play it, and how you should be itemizing. Okay, so this is going to be our level 8 board ideally, right? And most of these guys you already know. We're not going to go over a lot of the supporting units like Leona and Vayne, Fiora, etc. And instead, let's talk about some of the new additions to cybernetics and why they're here. But first, before we talk about that, let's focus on actually the newest unit, who is Vayne. So Vayne is a 3-cost cyber sniper who, in my opinion, is one of the strongest carries in the game in this comp in particular. She's not awesome outside of this comp, but with the extra health and AD that she gets from the 6 cybernetic trait, she becomes an absolute monster. And the way Vayne's kit works is she ults, and her ultimate basically is like her going Super Saiyan. And for those 10 seconds that she's Super Saiyan, single attack, that every third attack rather, she tumbles away from the opponent. And this means a few things. A, the tumble is always away from her opponent, meaning she keeps a safe distance from her from whoever she's focusing. And B, this is really, really important, she's invisible while tumbling. Now, besides just looking anime as fuck and really cool, her being invisible means that whoever was currently attacking her, at the moment that she becomes invisible, they will stop attacking her. And often, if there's someone else close enough for them to target, they will target that person instead and stop attacking Vayne. That means Vayne is a super, super safe carry who will often be one of the last people standing in a fight. You'll notice in a lot of 1v1 scenarios, what will happen is Vayne, even though she's the only unit around, she goes invisible and the enemy stops attacking her, allowing her to cast the next shot before the enemy can cast their shot. So it's a really, really strong unit, really, really fun to play, and I love watching her. And Ekko, let's talk a little bit about Ekko. So Ekko got changed a bit as well. The main change that you should note besides damage and stats is that Ekko's ult slows the attack speed of all enemies hit by 50% for 7 seconds. So that's huge, right? That's basically like a frozen heart that lasts for 7 seconds on enemies that Ekko isn't even near. He just needs to hit them and then he can walk away for 7 seconds and they're gonna have half the attack speed. So this, in combination with some stat changes, has made Ekko into what actually feels like a strong 5-cost, because before he kind of felt like just the unit that you need to complete the cybernetic trait, making him a win condition for this comp and a unit you should definitely be looking to pick up, but not a unit that you're reliant on because now there are 7 cybers instead of 6. So basically the addition of Vayne, the changes to Ekko, and the fact that there are now 7 cybers instead of 6 have both made the comp stronger at the top end and more reliable to hit because you're not reliant on hitting Ekko. You can hit Ekko later in the game and then use him to replace one of the other 6 cybers. And I usually replace Lucian with him. Okay, cool. So we understand why Vayne is good. We understand why Ekko is good. Let's talk a bit about the supporting units. So in this comp, Vayne is actually the primary carry for most of the game. I actually think Vayne is a better carry than Aurelia. Aurelia can, smurf on the enemy team. The problem with Aurelia is that she's a bit inconsistent. As a melee carry, she's really susceptible to CC, and she's getting hit with a lot of area of effect abilities and can just sort of die accidentally. Whereas Vayne is always going to be at the back doing damage, and she's even pretty safe versus infiltrators due to her ability to go invisible. So I like itemizing Vayne over Aurelia, and Aurelia is sort of a secondary supporting carry, but you're going to want to focus on items for Vayne. And as such, you're going to want to put Caitlyn in, because Caitlyn's also a sniper, and Caitlyn will augment Vayne by giving her the sniper trait, which increases the amount of damage that is done the farther between Vayne and her opponent. And because Vayne is always staying far away, sniper buff is really, really good on her. In addition to that, you're going to be playing Thresh. Now, Thresh is just one of the best units in the game. He's an utterly game-changing unit once you have some bench units for him to pull in. I really like Thresh because he provides Mana Reaver, And even if Aurelia is not particularly reliable as a carry sometimes, she will always Mana Reave if you have the Mana Reaver trait, making this a really potent combo because Mana Reaver allows you to slow down the ultimates of the enemy, and often you'll Mana Reave a target and kill it before you even get a chance to ult. And with Aurelia resetting off of her ult, because remember, every time she ults and kills something, she immediately ults to another target. She's often going to Mana Reave multiple different units in a fight. So it's a really potent combo. And you might be asking, okay, well, Caitlyn's not the best sniper. Why would I be playing Caitlyn over a Teemo or a Jhin or an Ashe? At level 8, you run Caitlyn just so you can get the chrono buff. Because often at this point in the game, Caitlyn or whatever sniper you put in, if they don't have items, they're not going to be a significant damage threat anyway. And at least Caitlyn will give you a synergy, even if she just ends up dying immediately to a blitz hook or something like that. So I like to play Caitlyn a lot. So Caitlyn, Thresh are the units you want to have in at 8. Let's talk a little bit about the strengths of this board, right, and the weaknesses. So one of the strengths is that Cybernetics just uses almost every item in the game really well, because even if an item is not like a great item, it activates Cybernetic trait, and Cybernetic trait is giving you 600 health and 80 attack damage on whoever is receiving at least one item. So it uses items really, really well and is incredibly flexible as a result. Is really good at dealing with both frontline and backline threats, right? Vayne is a high damage threat to the front line and then eventually the back line, and then Ekko and Aurelia, if you have Infiltrator Spat on Aurelia, are threats to the back line, right? Because Ekko jumps straight to the back and Aurelia can jump straight to the back as well if you give her Infiltrator Spatula. And one of my favorite things about Cybers that is different from prior to the mid-set update is that it supports multiple people playing it at once, right? Because Vayne is only a 3 cost, meaning there are 16 Vaynes in the pool. I believe there's 16 Vaynes in the pool. Don't quote me. But Primal, we go to you for authoritative information. Okay, yeah, I just verified there are 16, and there are 12 Aurelias in the pool. So even if you can't hit Vayne, and it's easier to hit Vayne than it used to be to hit Aurelia, you can still go Aurelia, and she can be a carry. If she has the correct items, you can still take first place with her, even though I think Vayne is better. So it's really, really versatile, can support, I say 3 people in the guide, honestly could probably even support more, but at some point you're running into issues like hitting an Ekko too. So you don't want to run Cybers if like everyone's running it, because ideally you want to have enough Vaynes available and Aurelia is a backup option, and then there's very few Ekkos available to everyone. Okay, let's talk about the weaknesses. So in this particular meta, the biggest weakness is that it is item reliance, in the sense that it's reliant on Last Whisper. Because the majority of the damage that's coming out of this comp for the most of the game is going to be physical damage. And because people are playing Vanguard Mystic, which is a really popular and easy to run comp right now, if you run into someone with 4 Vanguard and you don't have a Last Whisper, it's a BG. You're not going to be able to kill them. So really, really important that you get Last Whisper if you want to run this comp. If you were trying to run this comp without Last Whisper, shame on you. But there are alternatives that are available that we'll get to later in this guide. So I would say you should look for Last Whisper. That's your first signal that you can be running this comp successfully. And I would say that's probably the case for probably all the physical damage comps. Okay, let's talk about the key items. So Vayne wants Last Whisper, and she wants Last Whisper because Last Whisper reduces the armor of whoever she critically hits by 70%, right? So that takes a ton of armor off of Vanguards and makes them mortals for her. And in conjunction with the Last Whisper, Infinity Edge is really, really good. The reason why is because Last Whisper only activates when you crit, and Infinity Edge makes every single attack a crit. So every champion in the game has a base 25% chance to crit without Infinity Edge, meaning 1 in every 4 attacks on average is going to be reducing armor if you have a Last Whisper. With Infinity Edge, it's 100% of your auto attacks are going to be reducing armor. So that's a really big deal, right? Imagine you're attacking a 2-star Wukong with like Bramble Vest, and you have to hit him 4 times to eventually reduce his armor versus just hitting him once and reducing his armor for your whole team. So Infinity Edge is definitely the best. That said, if you can't get Infinity Edge, there are some alternatives to it, and we'll talk about that. The number one most important thing, though, guys, is Last Whisper. Last Whisper, Last Whisper, Last Whisper. You need that item on Vayne. Or if for some reason you're running Aurelia as a carry, you need that item on Aurelia. As far as key items for Aurelia, because she does matter for sure. Aurelia really thrives with Thief's Glove, actually. So it's not necessarily the best item individually for her, because sometimes you're gonna get like, I don't know, a locket and bramble vest on her, which is not particularly useful. It's okay, but it's not particularly useful. But in a world where you're going to be prioritizing itemizing Vayne and you're not going to have that many more items to go around, Thief's Glove is incredibly good value on Aurelia because she can use all the stats: mana, attack speed, attack damage, ability power, to great success. So if you have 2 spare gloves, Aurelia is really good with them. But make sure you save at least 1 glove because you're going to at least want 1 for Last Whisper. But if you have like 3 gloves, right, and you already have 1 committed for Last Whisper, it's totally fine to make a Thief's Glove and say that's going to go on Aurelia, and I'm going to make another item for Vayne. So what item would you want on Vayne that it's not an Infinity Edge? So Deathblade is good. Deathblade is great actually on Vayne because Vayne's ultimate scales off of her attack damage. So the more attack damage that she has, the more damage she's going to do when she tumbles. So that's pretty good. And Giant Slayer is also pretty good on her because it's extra true damage, and true damage is also nice when you're dealing with high resistance targets like Vanguard. It's not a replacement for Last Whisper, but it's a nice bit of extra damage that is versatile. And you can also put Giant Slayer on Ekko or Aurelia because it works with both magic damage and physical damage. So really, really great item on her. Runons is also a fantastic item on Vayne because Runons, it allows her to just kill off 2 targets at once, and because she does so much damage, she'll be shredding multiple targets at the same time. So I like Runon's Hurricane as well, but I would say Infinity Edge. It probably goes Infinity Edge, then Deathblade, then Giant Slayer, and then last Runons. So ideal items are probably going to be Last Whisper, Infinity Edge, and Deathblade on Vayne. But don't stress too much about the sword items. The number one thing is Last Whisper. If you remember nothing else from the guide, Last Whisper. I'm gonna make a little MP3 that just whispers into your ear, Last Whisper, while you play. So look out for that in stores soon. Okay, other good items. So as I said, I think this comp can use pretty much any item pretty well. But other fantastic items are Redemption. Redemption is great to throw on a supporting unit like Leona or Fiora, who aren't great carriers for like the damage items, but are great at dying. And Redemption triggers 800 health to each person remaining on your team when the carrier of Redemption dies. So it's great on Fiora and Leona. And if you're putting it on a Fiora or Leona, you want them to be in a position where they're going to die sort of middle of the fight, or at least not immediately in the fight, so that you actually heal when your health is low. So it's pretty good to put on, like, it's just in this setup, a Fiora in the middle, right? So not off to the side where she'll get focus. We'll make good use of it. Frozen Heart is an item I absolutely love. Super, super strong versus auto attackers. If you put that on Ekko, he can dive to the back line and slow down the attack speed of any carries that he's nearby, in addition to him ulting and then slowing down their attack speed too. And it gives him mana, which is always nice for getting his ult off a little bit quicker. If you don't have Ekko and you already have a Frozen Heart, you can also put on Vi, because Vi will ult to the back line and often ult to carry and slow them down. So just really good item on anyone who can get to the back line. So Vi and Ekko are going to be your Frozen Heart holders usually. And Morello's super good item, especially when you're dealing with any amount of healing. It's good on Ekko because it gives him more ability power, meaning bigger ults, meaning more boom. And it is a good anti-heal. And it's true damage, which we always like, especially in a meta where people are running Vanguard Mystic and are running lots of resistances. Resistances don't mean shit in the face of true damage. So Morello's is really good. And then there's some interesting uses of Spatula in this. We'll start with one of the more obvious ones that's been around forever. Infiltrator Spatula on Aurelia. Very good because A, it gives you Infiltrator trait, right, along with Ekko. B, did I say 1 or A? I always do this. The second thing is that it allows Aurelia to jump to the back line, and allowing her to easily kill off a carry, even if all she has an Infiltrator is Infiltrator Spat. Even just off her base damage and ult, she'll quickly kill a carry off. And it also reduces the need for an item like a Last Whisper on an Aurelia because she'll be hitting a backline carry who's usually fairly low armor. So Infiltrator Spat's probably the best use. Blade Master Spat is actually a pretty good item to put on Vayne. If you have a spare slot and you have a spat and you have a spare sword and you can't turn that sword into something else, Blade Master Spat is nice because it gives 3 Blade Master trait without having to play like a Shen or a Riven or something like that. So that's a pretty good use. And then a more niche use case for Spatula, but still relevant, something you want to just keep in the back of your head, is you can actually make Vayne or even Aurelia a Star Guardian. And if you make them a Star Guardian and you play Janna, then due to Janna's Paragon trait, the unit who you made a Star Guardian will do true damage with every auto attack. So that's something that you want to do if you don't have a Last Whisper and you're dealing with heavy resistances, because it'll allow you to basically ignore those resistances. But that's sort of a niche application, and you know it's kind of a high roll because you need both Spat and Tyr and Janna. And then Janna's taking up a spot on this team, so it's not something you want to rely on, but it is something that you can do if you're pressed and you don't have a Last Whisper to play off of. So yeah, this is going to be your level 8 comp. At level 9, there's some interesting things that you can do. So I would say at level 9, probably the best thing to do is replace the Caitlyn with Ashe. And you're going to want to go ahead and add in a strong 4 cost. My favorite here is Wukong, because Wukong will allow you to maintain chrono, right, between Thresh and Wukong. He'll give you Vanguard, and he's just a really strong unit in his own right. And then you can get a much better sniper in the form of Ashe. And Ashe has an ult that can definitely change fights even really late into the game if it lands on like a carry or someone who's mid-ultimate. So that's something that you can do at 9. But perhaps even more important to think about is your bench, right? Because your bench is going to actually be what wins you the game in the very, very late game, with Thresh pulling in high value units. Now, this is another really important part of the guide that I want you to internalize. Thresh Urgot is OP, right? And Urgot's he's not actually going to be on the board. On this app, I can only show you my board, not my bench. He's not actually going to be someone that you put on the board. Usually, you're going to leave him on the bench so that Thresh pulls him in, and particularly if Thresh is level 2, he will actually pull in Urgot, and Urgot will ult faster than if he were on the board, and with the luxury of not having Urgot take up a spot because he has no synergy with Cybernetics, right? So Urgot is going to be the best unit to keep on your board, and it's going to be so good that, in fact, what you often want to do is just have multiple Urgots on the bench, not even combine them into an Urgot 2, and sell everything else on the bench just so Urgot gets pulled in ASAP. Because if Urgot ults, it's basically a free kill, right? It's basically a guaranteed, almost a guaranteed kill, unless he gets interrupted mid-ult. So Urgot is really, really valuable. Okay, let's talk about other units that are really good to place on the bench. Of the 5 costs, I really like Lulu. Getting a Lulu pulled in, especially if it's a Lulu 2, mid-fight is pretty much game-changing CC. Janna is also pretty good. She has pretty potent CC in her own right and adds more attack speed for the team. I prefer Lulu over Janna, but they're both good. A second Thresh is actually fine as well, because if Thresh pulls in this Thresh will immediately ult and pull in other units. So, and if you get 2 of those Threshes pulling in stuff, all of a sudden you got a party with 18 units on the board. So that can be really, really strong. I also like Soraka. Soraka, if she gets, especially a Soraka 2, she's almost like a redemption that can come mid-fight, but is even better because it doesn't require anything dying. And a big heal mid-fight can completely change the landscape as well. And then anyone with CC, like Wukong can be good, Nar can be good. I was going to say Cho, but RIP Cho. So there's a bunch of really good options for your bench that you should be thinking about, but Urgot is by far the best one. Okay, so let's finally talk about item priority on Carousel. So I think Bow is actually the best item to go for early. And it's not necessarily because it's the best item for Cybers, but it's the most contested, one of the most contested items right now. And it's critical for Last Whisper, right? If I were to say what item is best for Cybers in a vacuum, it's probably like a sword or glove, one of those two. Glove because you can use a lot of them for like Feast gloves and stuff. sword because it makes a bunch of great Vayne and Aurelia items. But I think bow is really contested because it builds rapid fire cannon for Vanguard Mystic, and anyone who wants a Last Whisper, which is like every physical damage comp, is going to be going for bow. So I would try to get a bow ASAP because it's going to be the hardest to get. So it has the worst ratio basically of scarcity to value, right? And so you really need it, or maybe best ratio. You know what I mean? I always screw up with ratios. And now let me just show you a little bit of an example of positioning, right? How positioning matters. This is some good standard positioning that you can do. Things to note are you want Vi on the opposite side of the enemy carry so that she ults across the map to go get them. She'll always ult the farthest target. You want Thresh to be in row 3 because he can still attack from this distance, but he's out of threat range and he can mana reave whoever you're trying to hit. So you want to mana reave like a Gnar or Gangplank, something like that. And you want Aurelia and Thresh separated so they're not mana reaving the same target. You want Vayne obviously in a safe position that she can't be Blitzcrank hooked. So you might want to put like a Fiora down here if there's Blitzcrank on both sides. You want Aurelia second row so she doesn't get focused but doesn't have a huge travel time to get into the mix, right? Because Aurelia is kind of squishy. And you want Ekko to just be across from anyone that he's trying to kill off, right? So pretty simple there. Let me show you an example of a fight where this really matters. So in this fight, I actually have an Aurelia with Spatula, with Infiltrator Spatula. So it doesn't actually matter whether I place her front or back. She's not always going to jump anyway. Although I think if I put her in the front, she'll land in the back more quickly. I'm not absolutely sure. Don't quote me. But here's a fight where I scouted, right? And I saw, okay, the carries are on the right, but just as importantly, right? Look at this fight. The Gnar is on the right here, right? So you're gonna want to look for mana reaving, right, on this Gnar. So watch this. Okay, so you can see the Aurelia jumps to the back. I'm not sure if he's going to focus Bard or Teemo, but either way, they're in the general vicinity of the carries, which is good. And look at this. Thresh mana reaves at Gnar. You can see his white mana bar means he's mana reaved, right? So even though he eventually does get his ult off, he gets it off so late that there's no one left to support him, right? That's really, really, really critical. Let me show you more examples of positioning in action, right? Okay, so in this fight, we mana reave the Wukong, right? And we mana reave the Wukong. We're actually not even that well positioned for this fight because like no one is threatening the Vayne. But because we mana reave the Wukong, all these units over here are not going to get CC'd, and that allows my second Vayne to actually put in a little bit of work too. So yeah, basically make sure that you're using your mana reaves effectively. Mana reaves can be the difference between a top 3 and a first place. Be really on top of those, just like you're on top of your Zephyrs and stuff. Okay, cool. So this is a sort of a brief overview of cybernetics. There's a written guide that you're going to be able to see in a link to in the description that you should check out that has even more detail that I encourage you to go through, including stage-by-stage breakdown of how you should be econing and play your strongest board and units to look out for. In the meantime, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I love making these guides. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me. If you don't know anything about me, I worked at Riot Games for 7 years and I quit to try to become a professional gamer. So getting YouTube following and Twitch following is really, really important for me to have the income to sustain my dream and hopefully make it come true. So hope you liked it and let me know in the comments if there's any feedback you have on how to make this better or any future guides you would love to see. All right, guys, take it easy. Bye-bye. Hey guys, I hope you liked the video. My name is thatsPRIMAL and this is Uzi. And we are on a journey to become a professional gamer. Yes, both of us. And that means a combination of making content, streaming, and competing in tournaments. So if you like the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really, really does help us on our journey to make this stream a reality. And we're going to be putting out content on a regular basis that's designed to help you get better at teamfight tactics. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and see you next time.